Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov emphasized on Friday that the EU views Russia as the chief enemy, and all this militarization is aimed against Russia, in comments he made about decisions by European nations to bolster defense spending. It potentially could be a cause for deep concern, a cause for taking retaliatory measures to ensure our security, Peskov said in a conference call with reporters. According to Associated Press on Thursday, European Union leaders committed to working together to bolster the continent's defenses and to free up hundreds of billions of euros for security after US President Donald Trump's repeated warnings that he would cut them adrift to face the threat of Russia alone. With the growing conviction that they will now have to fend for themselves, countries that have faltered on defense spending for decades held emergency talks in Brussels to explore new ways to beef up their security and ensure future protection for Ukraine.
Мы не согласны с такой точки зрения. Наши военные продолжают специальную военную операцию. В рамках этой операции поражают объекты, связанные с ВПК, связанные с производством оружия и так далее на Украине. Это процесс, за которым мы пристально наблюдаем, потому что Евросоюз позиционирует Россию как главного противника. То есть вся вот эта вот милитаризация происходит в основном против Российской Федерации. Это, конечно, потенциально может быть темой для нашей глубокой обеспокоенности и для того, что возникнет необходимость принятия соответствующих ответных мер для обеспечения нашей безопасности. Это тема, которая стоит на повестке дня, и диалог между Россией и США по контролю над вооружением, он необходим с точки зрения интересов наших двух стран и с точки зрения международной безопасности. Абстрагироваться в ходе этого диалога от европейских ядерных арсеналов невозможно. Мы по-прежнему в этом убеждены, тем более актуальность принятия во внимание этих арсеналов сейчас еще выше, чем она была раньше, учитывая совсем недавнее заявление господина Макрона про намерение Франции обеспечить свой ядерный зонтик для обеспечения безопасности европейских государств. С точки зрения Пекина, это та точка зрения, которую еще предстоит узнать у американцев с китайцами свои отношения здесь. Американцы должны с этим определяться, принимая во внимание позицию Пекина. Пока никаких конкретных переговоров не было, и пока нет понимания, когда такие контакты могут быть начаты и где.
The UK's Prime Minister met with workers at a shipbuilding plant in the northwest of England on Thursday and laid out his thoughts on the upcoming increase on defence spending and how that may affect the plant. "I do think Europe needs to step up on security and defence more broadly, and I want to win contracts for you and others as that happens," Keir Starmer told workers during a stand-up question and answer session. According to Associated Press, with regard to Ukraine, Starmer repeated his desire to find peace in the war between them and Russia, but also laid out that Britain's future must be working with the US on defense. "On Ukraine, obviously, it's really important that we focus on what matters most, and what matters most, in my view, is a lasting peace that ensures that Ukraine is both sovereign, able to make their own decisions, and secure," he said. "It has to be done in conjunction with the United States because we have, for many decades, worked very closely with the United States," he added. His comments come as European Union leaders are holding emergency talks on Thursday in Brussels on ways to quickly increase their military budgets after the Trump administration signaled that Europe must take care of its own security and also suspended assistance to Ukraine. In just over a month, President Donald Trump has overturned old certainties about US reliability as a security partner, as he embraces Russia and withdraws American support for Ukraine.
Well, on Ukraine, obviously, it's really important that we focus on what matters most. And what matters most, in my view, is a lasting peace that ensures that Ukraine is both sovereign, able to make their own decisions, and secure, so in a position where we don't just stop the fighting for it to start again in a year or two or three. For that to happen, obviously, it's important that we are all focused on that, and it is important that if there is a deal, and we don't know there will be, that we defend the deal. And that means that we need to think about what's the guarantee, what's the security guarantee. And what I've said is, I think Europe needs to step up into this space. We've said for a long time that Europe needs to do more on its own security and defence. I think that's right. and the United Kingdom will play a leading part because we've always stepped up when it's required. So that's why I've made that commitment on behalf of our country. It has to be done in conjunction with the United States because we have for many decades worked very closely with the United States. You will know through the work you do that our defence, our security, our intelligence is intertwined. No two other countries are as close when it comes to defence and security as our two countries. So we want to do this in conjunction with the United States because it's that ability to work with the United States and with our European partners that has kept the peace for 80 years now. That's why it's important we step up into this space. In the meantime, we need to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position. We don't know there's going to be a deal. The fighting is going on, and it's a big mistake to think, well, all we've got to do is wait for a deal now. We've got to make sure that if they are fighting on, they're in the strongest position, and even if they go into negotiation, they're in the strongest position. I do think Europe needs to step up on security and defence more broadly, and I want to win contracts for you and others as that happens, because as the whole of Europe steps up, and I do think it will, that means it's not just the demands, as it were, of our government, it's other governments as well will be looking around to see, well, where can we place our orders for the capability we need? And I know we're good enough, we're leading enough in this country to say you should be putting your orders with us. I think as we go forward with defence and security, we're going to have to press forward on sea, on air, on land. If you look at the Ukraine conflict, it's clear that maritime, what we're doing at sea, has been a huge part of that. And therefore, as we go through our strategic review, as we look at what does the next chapter of our history hold, it's clear that maritime shipbuilding is going to have to be a big part of that. You may have seen that last week we announced the highest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War, and that means that defence spending is going to come on track by 2027 and then a sustained year-on-year increase. And I want that to be something which is really significant towards the defence and security of our country, much needed at the moment, but I also want it to be measured in jobs and businesses and skills in this country and in places like. In the meantime, we need to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position. We don't know there's going to be a deal. The fighting is going on, and it's a big mistake to think, well, all we've got to do is wait for a deal now. We've got to make sure that if they are fighting on, they're in the strongest position, and even if they go into negotiation, they're in the strongest position. I do think Europe needs to step up on security and defence more broadly, and I want to win contracts for you and others